Hi, this is Shane Starr, and this morning I had the random idea to do a creative type video here. And here's what inspired it. I'm a fan of rusted typology, and he was talking about Enneagram fixes in his most recent video. And I was noticing how each of the fixes is kind of negative, like it has a negative connotation, which is funny and it's entertaining and it's true. So, whatever Enneagram you are, you have, some issues. And then I was going down the list of thinking about different Enneagram types, and I most recently had a couple videos about identifying the polar function in MBTI types, and that led to some sidebar discussions about socionics, which I want to treat in a later video. But in the meantime, after this Enneagram type, and again, this isn't a technical video, it's mostly for fun, but I was thinking, what if Enneagram types had polar types? So whatever Enneagram type you are, you have a type that's just not you, opposite you, completely antithetical, just you don't do it, you can't do it, you don't like it. And that idea seemed fun to me. So I'm going to start by going down the list and seeing if I can identify my own polar Enneagram type. Not that there is such a thing, but like I said, this video is for fun. This is my idea of random spontaneity, having fun. No notes today or anything like that. And we'll see where it goes. And then when we're all done, I'd like to know what your polar type would be. And, of course, what your natural Enneagram type is. So without further delay, let's get started. So Enneagram 1. Could that be my polar type? Enneagram 1s have, attention to detail, black and white thinking, which I'm often accused of. They like to be punctual. They care about the rules. They really care about morality, right and wrong. I self-type as a 1, and all of those things I can relate to. So even if I'm self-deceived in some way, or even in a big way, there is virtually no way that would be my polar type. Okay, so moving on. Enneagram 2. Now this one's interesting because when I think of Enneagram 2, giving to others, putting others first, being a team player, all so that they can get love in return and get recognized for their care and help. That on the face of it sounds like, yeah, that could be my polar function. And then if I'm being honest with myself, that sounds a lot like me at work. Always going above and beyond, not just with residents but with my supervisors, and really trying to prove my value and worth by giving of myself, my time, my efforts, going that extra mile. And so as much as I would love to claim Enneagram 2 is like my polar type, in the real world and real practice, and again, all of this stuff depends on being honest with yourself. So yeah, I would kind of like to say, yeah, hell no way Enneagram 2. But the truth is, there's a lot more Enneagram 2 in me than I would like to admit. And so much that I wouldn't consider it as a possible typing of me, but it's definitely in the top half, so not my polar. Okay, moving on to Enneagram 3. Unhealthy, extreme, like social or sexual Enneagram 3 types really turn me off. I've never liked those kinds of people. I've had plenty of friends and maybe so-called frenemies who are this type. And, just trying to overachieve to get credit and get recognized and trying to, be the best. Look at me. Look at how good I am, like a little kid. That's a turnoff. Now, that being said, I've been typed by at least one prominent person as an Enneagram 3 myself, a self-preservation one, which is different. So if one were to say, yeah, Shane, you think you're an Enneagram 1, but really you're an Enneagram 3 with a 1 fix, and your idea of achievement is being that good person 1, I could see it. I don't think that's the case, but I'd be in denial if I didn't admit that that's some sort of possibility. I do care about work. I'm a workaholic. I do care about achievement. I don't see myself as cutthroat competitive, but I like seeing my name at the top of a rankings list and stuff. So I like to dress professionally and stuff. Now, my excuse about Enneagram 3 in this is that I've always done it for myself, not to impress others. In fact, a good example is this tie. I always wear a tie to work, and I'm reminded by everyone at work, including my supervisors, like, hey, we don't have to wear a tie. And it's like, okay, but I want to wear one. So if I was dressing like this to impress people, I wouldn't wear a tie, right? But it's like my little personal uniform. So, the reason I think I'm not a 3 is the things I do are for me, not for other people to look at. That being said, there's too much 3 in me anecdotally to call that my polar function. So that one's off the board. Moving on to Enneagram 4. It's easy to look at these guys as the whiners of the Enneagram, like, poor me, I don't fit in, and I'm the black sheep. The world is, different for me. I feel like an alien here. And I'll just get right to the point. To be honest, there's more of that in me than I would like to admit to. I do feel a little bit different. When I self-test, not that we can trust self-testing, but when I self-test, 4 is always in the top half. I can relate to a lot of those things, especially in my younger years, and all those things are still there. It's just I've learned to live with it better. So yeah, I don't think 4 could be my type, but it's definitely not my polar type either. Moving on to 5, the sin of avarice, keeping things to yourself, being an individual, getting lost in your own thoughts. I do all that stuff. I could probably make an argument in some ways that I could be a type 5, but I never have, and I doubt that I ever will. I don't think I'm an Enneagram type 5. However, like with the 2 and 4, there's way too much of that in me to consider it as a polar type, if there was such a thing. I am socially introverted. I do tend to overthink things. I do believe that knowledge is power. When I know the ins and outs of something, I feel a lot more comfortable than jumping into something spontaneously. So yeah, 5 isn't my polar type. On to 6. I find it almost difficult to believe that 6 could be anyone's polar function, except I guess if you're naturally an 8, I could see 6 in some ways being that, or even a 7. When I think of 6s, I think of respect for authority, but struggling with it at the same time. I think of people who care about the rules, care about fitting in their larger community, whether that's a social community or a work community. And the thing I relate to most with sixes is the Murphy's Law syndrome. What can go wrong will go wrong. Always seeing what the potential problems are, bracing yourself for any inevitability, hoping for the best, but always planning for the worst. I can relate to that so much. There's times I question, could I be a six? Or, I don't think so. However, it's probably in my tri-type, again, if there's any such thing as a tri-type. So it's way up there. So even though I don't think I'm a six, there's way too much six in my makeup, especially that Murphy's Law part and worrying about problems. There's way too much of that in me for that to be my polar type. So we've gone six in and no polar type. Will we find one? Let's see. Okay, type 7. The happy-go-lucky, fun, down for anything, spontaneous type. That's not me. And could it be my polar type? Maybe. When I think of Enneagram 7s, run from problems, always want to have a good time. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. Have fun at work, have fun at home, have fun everywhere. That's not me. But if I go deep enough into my past and I think about, some of the decadence. Now, my idea of fun was never like big social stuff like Disneyland or crowded bars or something, but I'd have my own things I would have fun in, and I would sometimes splurge into those things to a fault. Sometimes, a lot of things I overdid it, and not now. But if I consider my life as a whole instead of me during the last several years, then I think there's enough 7 there that I don't think it could be a thing like a polar type. It might be close. If I can't find another type that fits better, then I guess 7 it'll be. But so far it would be 7, but the magical, like, no, never me, that doesn't fit. I mean, it could fit now, but let's see if we can find a better match. Moving on to Enneagram 8. I have a sort of love-hate relationship with 8s. Depending on the type of 8 and their physical characteristics, which is important. I'll get to that in a second. I can either get along with 8s really well or not at all. I tend to have issues with the bigger, brawnier 8s with the loud, deep voices who are real expansive. So, like regular type 8 who's intense and has strong ideas about what to do and what not to do. I tend to be okay with those people. It's the big maybe SP8 wing 9 types, like the 6'6" guy who comes in and has his meal and he like plops down, puts his arms way to the side. Those kind of guys and me usually have problems. We don't get along that much. The guy with his big truck and his dog in the seat next to him. Old-fashioned country music type guy. Like, those generally, they get along with other people better than they get along with me. And I don't know where that clash comes from, but I'm getting off point here. Could that be my polar? I think if I look at 8s as a whole, I would say no, because I can be intense. I can overdo it. Like at work, I try to get a lot done. And when things don't go my way, I can have flashes of frustration that look worse than they feel internally. And, there was a time where I considered 8 as a type of mine. And, that came from the way I grew up. Life is a war, have to fight for survival. I still feel a lot of that. Do I still think I'm an 8? Absolutely not. But there's too much 8 in me, in spite of some of my antipathy for some 8s. I think there's too much of it in myself to consider that as my type. Okay, so let's see what we have. One more to go. Enneagram 9. Chill, relaxed, go with the flow, conflict avoidant. Um, those things sound really nice and pretty, but if I'm being honest, I'm not chill. I'm not go with the flow. I'm not relaxed. I might sound relaxed right now, but I'm not. I think I found it, you guys. If we had polar types for Enneagram, my polar type would be type 9. I have no chill. I have no go with the flow. I have no relaxation mode. I'm not going to put the group first and myself last. I'd rather leave and do my own thing. I found it. Yay me. Shane Starr, Enneagram 9 is his polar type. Now, I didn't even have to go too deeply into it, like, it's weird. And, yeah, I mean, 7 would be second place probably, but 9 for sure. That stands out, like, above and beyond all the others. I'm curious what your Enneagram type is, and if you had a polar, what yours would be. That's it. I'm out. Have a good one, you guys. Peace out.